vision of mayoral control excludes parents. Period. Parents, in his view, have nothing to offer in the educational process. Now, I say as a public school parent myself, I like to say parents are the first and last teachers of their children. We are the essential piece of the equation. So you don't open or close or co-locate a school without the consent of parents. You don't leave them out of something that so foundationally affects their children's lives. But that's every day today in New York City. Parents will tell you all over the city, and I couldn't agree more, it is time to stop teaching to the test. And we're in a house of worship, so you'll agree when I say it's time to stop praying to the false idol of high-stakes standardized testing. But to your question, this version of mayoral controlled education is so fundamentally undemocratic. There is no voice for parents. The PEP couldn't stop a bad policy in any way, shape, or form. Community education councils are given no power. Let's create actual checks and balances so that when you hear the voice of the people, and they say, we want to be a part of these decisions, or they say, we want to move away from teaching to the test, that actually resonates with the decision makers and leads to change and reform. I want a democratic version of mayoral control.
Thank you. When Mayor Bloomberg was fighting for control of the schools, he said that this is how you make a mayor accountable. Well, unfortunately, in the ensuing 10 years, it's been all about control and absolutely zero accountability. Not accountable to the public, not accountable to council members, the state legislators, not accountable to parents. My son Joey's 12 years old, he's in 7th grade in public school. There's not even a way for me to get a suggestion in. There is no input whatsoever from parents, who, I agree with Bill, we are the first and final teachers of our kids. We are responsible for the education of our kids. And the way they have, let me use good words here, the way they have converted mayoral control is in a way that, nowadays the announcements are about which schools are going to close, as if they are so proud of closing schools, co-locating schools, stuffing kids into the same buildings. There's no enhancement or increase of school choice. In fact, it's in many cases a diminution of choice, because a school with only a couple hundred kids, you don't have that many choices for the kids in terms of their coursework, in terms of their after-school activities, the clubs, or the sports teams. So in many ways, it's actually been a decrease in the amount of school and educational choice that families have. And that was never what mayoral control was all about. It was supposed to be about accountability. It was supposed to be about the buck stopping at the mayor. And we need to restore that kind of system. One that allows learning in our schools and not just about coaching for tests. Thank you.
Well, the first thing that we need to do in a public school system is to bring an educator back as the head of the public school system. We've had business people running the school system. Everyone from Joel Klein to Jackie Black. And in all due respect to Dennis Walcott, and Dennis is a friend, Dennis is not an educator. We need an educator again at the top of the school system first. Number two, as mayor, I don't need a majority of the panel for educational priorities. I can have less than a majority, because if it's not sound educational policy, it shouldn't be approved anyway. So I don't need a group of commissioners and others sitting on a panel, rubber stamping the things that I do. Let's put people on a panel who have expertise, who are parents also. Let's give them a term appointment and let them be able to vote on sound educational policy. We need to stop this. Let me change that for a second. We saw, what was it, 76 or 78 new schools opened, announced for September. The question to ask wasn't how many new schools were opened. The question to ask, how many schools were being closed? How many of those new schools were real schools? And the truth is, I believe it was only 2.
That's right.
It was only 2. We need to stop this process and policy of school closing as an educational policy. We need to make sure that we try and keep our schools open, that we don't turn our backs on our communities and our children first. Let's keep those schools open. There are things to be done that you can turn a school around before you give up on a school. And right now, that is not what occurs in this city. And I see my time is up. I have a number of other things. I guess I will come back later. Thank you.
The way to make mayoral control really work to its potential is to engage all of the stakeholders in the system as part of the team to improve our schools. And that starts first and foremost by stopping vilifying teachers and recognizing that schools cannot and do not succeed without quality teachers, and to change the discourse of the mayor, not to vilify, but to gratitude and wanting to work with teachers. 2, we need to involve parents in the system. Recognize that the best schools have always been those with the strongest parent organizations. We need to make it easier for parents to know exactly who to call, exactly when to come, exactly how they can become involved, to have an open door policy for parents. We also need to stop our obsession with testing. And we can do that, take an enormous step towards that immediately by ending field testing. Right now, not only are students taking the required test, the groups we pay millions of dollars to do the test, they use our children as guinea pigs to determine what next year's test questions are going to be. They can pay for those kind of focus groups out of the money they're making from the city of New York. Also, we need to recognize anytime we close a school, it's a tragedy, and develop a red flag system where we intervene in schools that are not doing well years in advance to give them the support and resources they need to turn around, which we know there's the potential to do.
Great.